Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gaming CPA's channel. So last year I received a little box in the mail. For reference, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I was paying $70 a month for 20 megabits per second internet. When Starlink offered a better experience, I pre-ordered immediately. Of course, when I pre-ordered it, I had to figure out how to install this bad boy. You see, I have what's called a metal roof. Now, I know what you are thinking. Does the CPA live in a shed? No, I just live in a house built like one. So the problem I faced was Starlink's lack of a metal roof mount. Now, I could be wrong, but these two roof mounts don't look like they would work. Who knows, maybe I'm just a daft. Anywho, I ended up thinking to myself, how do you mount something to a metal object? Magnets! So I called up my buddy who had a product called Quick Shock Magnets. It has a hefty magnet, which I figured I could attach to the legs of the Starlink mount and give it feet. Turns out, to mount them, I needed longer screws and wing nuts, so I went to my local hardware store and grabbed them, forming the foot. Once I had them completed, I went onto my roof through the office window and mounted it onto the very top of the house. Shortly after setup, I was receiving speeds over 120 megabits per second. I had minor blockages from some trees on just a small portion of the coverage that would give me random outages every now and again, but the experience was far better than the previous 20 megabits per second I had before. So you might be asking yourself, great, but why make a video now and why should I care? Well, you shouldn't really, and the reason I'm making the video now is because something happened. Well, not just once, but many times. You see, my magnetic feet gave up during high winds and heavy snowfall, and Dishy would fall from the top of the roof down to the one below it. This probably happened at least a dozen times over the course of about 6 months, and before going into winter of this year, my wife told me I had to figure the dish out because she didn't want me going out when it was snowy and icy to put the dish back on top of the roof. As all smart husbands do, I said, yes ma'am. I looked outside the window and saw our fence post just standing there, which reminded me a lot of the pole mount that Starlink sells. So I thought to myself, I'll just mount it on there. And guess what? It didn't work. Not in the slightest. Turns out, according to customer support, that Dishy isn't built to do that. And I probably broke the motors of it as it didn't have the necessary support in the middle to allow Dishy to track the satellites. But Starlink support did say that since I was just past the 1-year warranty, they would send me a refurbished Gen 2 Dishy free of charge. I froze and did what all smart husbands do, lied to my wife and said everything was fine. Just kidding. I did the next best thing though and stole her credit card and made a dastardly plan. I found a new location far away from any roofs and cheap hardware store metal poles. Instead, I found a wide open spot on the property unhindered by any trees and chose that as Dishy 2.0's new home. I then purchased the real Starlink pole mount, dug a hole, did not follow the instructions that said to pour concrete. What do you think I am, a construction worker? I then purchased a cool outdoor white box to hold my new Starlink router, Google Mesh router, and Ethernet adapter, along with more Ethernet cables. Don't tell my wife how much I spent though. Turns out the Gen 2 Starlink router is longer and wider than Gen 1, which almost didn't fit in the box. But as you can see, we made it work. Now, I told my wife that I was 100% confident that I could use this outdoor box that's about 20 feet away from the nearest Google Wi-Fi point, not fully understanding if the mesh Wi-Fi would work like as a range extender or if it would completely fail. So, after a super stressful couple of weeks/months of waiting for products to be delivered and finishing the setup, it turns out it worked. I have Dish Gen 2 mounted, tied to a pole just to keep it safe. I've run the Ethernet/power cable as far as I could, and then I plugged it into the Ethernet adapter within my little white box. The Ethernet adapter then plugs into the router and has an Ethernet cord plugged in my Google Wi-Fi mesh router. It took some hard network resetting, but the Google Wi-Fi mesh router reaches my Wi-Fi point just inside the window and gets sent to the other Wi-Fi point in the house, covering our home with much more consistent and good Wi-Fi. Now, it is even evening time when I'm showing you this, and Starlink has recently released a few weeks or a month ago an article stating that they are going to start slowing down speeds if you have used over 1 terabyte, I believe, in the month, and also in the evening when usage is at its highest. Either way, it's great to have satellite internet that works well and most importantly, doesn't fall off of my roof. Thanks for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed my Starlink story. If any Starlink engineers want to take on the challenge of developing magnetic feet that can withstand wind speeds of up to 60 miles per hour and snowfall of 24 inches, I would love to see those results. If you haven't yet and you want to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. And until next time, maximize your deductions and pay less in taxes. Have an amazing day.